This is part 3, episode 92. Xu Sanxia and Jiang Nan didn't participate in the operation on the other side, because his injuries were relatively severe. Instead, he represented Hu Yuhao to settle the deal with Chen An's subordinates. Hu Yuhao's plan didn't allow anything beneficial for the Tang sect to slip through their fingers. Even if their other two operations failed, the rare metals they had obtained through this deal was enough for the Tang sect to use for quite some time. How could money be more important than rare metals? Furthermore, most of their income came from what they won from the underground tournament, other than Shujiujiu and Wei Na's deposits. Completing this deal would reduce Chen An's suspicions. The Tang sect could possibly draw upon this connection in the future. A bracelet and 2 rings were handed to Xu Sanxia. Xu Sanxia passed them to Jiang Nan beside him, and she immediately wore them on her hand as she scanned them with her spiritual power. She nodded at Xu Sanxia after a few moments. They exchanged a look, and they could see the elation in each other's eyes. They had completed the deal on this side. "Are the goods all there?" the middle-aged man that came forth to complete the deal asked a little restlessly. Xu Sanxia nodded in response. The middle-aged man's expression smoothed out, and he pulled the hood of his cloak over his head as he waved to them before he briskly disappeared into the night. Xu Sanxia grinned and said, "Let's go, Nan. I believe their operation is about to begin, so let's get ready to coordinate or lend a hand. I wonder how Hu Yuhao is doing." "All right." Jiang Nan acknowledged softly, and the two of them vanished into the darkness. Inside the Sun Moon Empire's royal palace, lights and lanterns dotted the royal palace and lit up the night sky. The crown prince, Xu Qianran, was reading a book in his study, accompanied by Zhu Zi. Xu Qianran suddenly looked up and smiled as he spoke to Zhu Zi. "Zhu Zi, do you want to watch the Great Soul Tool Crafting Tournament? You're also a soul engineer, so you should be interested in that." Zhu Zi was momentarily stunned. "That's not a good idea, Your Highness. How can you appear in a place like that with your status?" Xu Qianran smiled and replied, "That's all right. All I must do is hide your identity. There will be a conclusion tonight. Even if rare metals have to be given out, the profits must end up in the royal family's hands. Furthermore, the Holy Ghost Church has an exceptional appetite, and they wouldn't be so obedient and stable if not for these profits. Besides, you're the one spectating the tournament. I won't be following you. Go if you wish." Words came to the tip of Zhu Zi's tongue, but she held them back in the end. "What? Are you worried that working with the Holy Ghost Church is like dealing with the devil?" Xu Qianran saw through her doubts with one look. Zhu Zi nodded lightly and said, "The Holy Ghost Church is a sect that consists of evil soul masters after all, and they are publicly rejected. Their thought processes are drastically different from how normal soul masters think. I'm afraid." Xu Qianran waved her away. "I am very clear that cooperating with them is equivalent to dealing with the devil. However, this is something I have to do. The Doluo continent's 3 native empires will never catch up to our speed of soul tool development no matter what they do, and our national strength is far superior to each of them. With our current strength, we can deal with a single country, but unifying and conquering the entire continent is exceptionally challenging. Why haven't the other 3 empires devoted their time and energy into developing soul tools? The reason is not because they lack rare metals. The more substantial reason stems from their deep-seated ideas and principles about soul masters. Soul masters represent a formidable profession, and they have existed on the Doluo continent for far too long. Powerful soul masters are considered strategic assets for empires, and we have far fewer soul masters than the other 3 empires. The gap is even more pronounced as we go up the ranks. Think about it. How many titled Doluo are there in Shrek Academy alone? Perhaps the Sun Moon Empire may accumulate enough strength, soul tools, and prodigious soul engineers to conquer the entire continent after a few hundred years. But I won't live that long, and time is short. I have to conquer the entire continent in the time that I have to rule over the Sun Moon Empire." Xu Qianran's eyes surged with passion as he reached this sentence. "We will need friends, and we have to form alliances if we want to achieve this. We need to obtain sufficient strength to fight against those soul masters on a higher level. Soul engineers can rival soul masters given enough time to set up and prepare, and soul engineers may even surpass soul masters in battles that rely on large-scale attacks. However, a Class 9 soul engineer has almost no chance to defeat an actual title Doluor in an impromptu battle, while every single Class 9 soul engineer is considered an invaluable asset to the Empire. Therefore, I will not use them against those soul masters and those title Doluor. The optimal decision under such circumstances is to work together with the Holy Ghost sect. The Holy Ghost sect's evil soul masters have been holding back and building up for countless years to reach the scale they are at today. They are our greatest strength in terms of high-level combat. The Holy Ghost Church consists of only evil soul masters, so they can't do anything in public or out in the open. This is the reason why they are always in the shadows, while I handle the publicity and everything else on the surface. I have been using the Holy Ghost Church, and they have been using me. Their most important request doesn't mean much to me. They want to become the Sun Moon Empire's national church, and they want their founder to become the imperial tutor. At the same time, they want us to announce across the entire world after we conquer the continent that they will take over as traditional soul masters, and society is to do away with their label of evil soul masters. Therefore, I don't have to worry about anything at all. Even if we have conflicts, all that will happen after the Empire conquers the continent. When that happens, perhaps I will have accumulated enough strength. A cold feeling flickered across the corner of Shu Qianran's mouth as he finished his last sentence. Juzi listened intently, but her heart was going cold inside. The Crown Prince is so reserved, and he will only reveal some of his thoughts and opinions in front of me. Have you left, Hui Yuhao? Hurry up and leave. How can you fight against him? I truly don't wish to see your corpse. Juzi couldn't help but feel a little anxious when she thought about Hui Yuhao. She had taken a big risk and gotten someone to send a letter to Hui Yuhao so that he could leave this giant whirlpool that was Radiant City as quickly as possible. She didn't know how many people were going to be sucked into this enormous whirlpool. Shu Qianran said, "Push me to the window, Juzi." Yes. Juzi hurriedly pushed his wheelchair to the window and helped him open it. The night winds felt chilly as they gusted through the window. Shu Qianran stared at the night sky and smiled as he said, "You should make your move if you want to watch the tournament." Juzi shook her head and said, "I'm not going anywhere. I want to accompany you." She placed her hands on Shu Qianran's shoulders as she spoke and gently massaged them. A warm smile appeared on Shu Qianran's face, something that was hard to come by. He patted Juzi's hand and said, "My heart can relax only when I'm alone with you. This feeling is just fantastic. It's a pity that the night will not let me enjoy this pleasure peacefully and quietly. If you're not going to watch the tournament, remember not to leave my side after this. They should be here soon." Juzi was a little surprised. "Who's coming? It's already so late." Shu Qianran sneered and said, "Some people won't give up on their stupid decisions just because it's getting late." Right at this moment, an elderly voice suddenly rang out. "Since you're already here, stop hiding. Come out." Countless bodyguards raced out and plugged every corner of Shu Qianran's study. A white sphere of light suddenly lit up the black night sky. A figure hovered arrogantly in the sky above Shu Qianran's study, and a long black robe swayed gently in the wind. He was just standing there in mid-air, as if he had been there since the beginning of time. There was no expression on his face, but there was an indescribable pride and arrogance, as if he were the sky's dictator, as if the earth beneath submitted to him. The Dragon Emperor Doluor has become someone's guard dog. People are so treacherous nowadays. A strange voice could be heard, and the sky seemed to split open as a dense dark green cloud stretched through the night sky. The green cloud opened, and someone walked out from within. Indeed, the person hovering above Shu Qianran's study was the Dragon Emperor Doluor, Long Xiaoyao, who was also known as the Darkness Holy Dragon. The person who had stepped out from the green clouds was the body sect's current sect leader, Dubuzi, who was a rank 98 body Doluor. He was close to becoming an ultimate Doluor. Only powerful individuals of his level dared to face someone like Long Xiaoyao, who was already an ultimate Doluo. Long Xiaoyao grunted coldly as he glanced at Dubuzi, who had a mass of green hair on his head. Your elder brother was heavily injured at the hands of Mu Yen all those years ago. If you wish to remain here today, and want the body sex lineage to end, I will fulfill your wish. Dubuzi's eyes closed into slits as he muttered coldly, Don't be so pretentious and condescending, Long Xiaoyao. If I remember correctly, you're originally from the Heavenly Soul Empire. Your decadence has taken you into a sect filled with evil soul masters, and you've become the Sun Moon Empire's lackey. The body sect looks down on you. Long Xiaoyao's expression changed a little when Dubuzi mentioned the Heavenly Soul Empire. He lowered his voice and said, Has the body sect really come under the Heavenly Soul Empire's wing? Dubuzi said contemptuously, Come under their wing? No. We're just working together. The body sect is currently the Heavenly Soul Empire's national defense sect. Long Xiaoyao, if you still consider yourself part of the Heavenly Soul Empire, get out of my way. Long Xiaoyao shook his head and said plainly, I'll spare your life since you have decided to represent the Heavenly Soul Empire. There's nothing more to be said. You should understand the code of title Doluor, and we will speak in the sky if we interfere with mortal conflicts and affairs. Come out, Xianzi. I will take you both on at the same time today. Long Xiaoyao shook as he spoke, and instantly surged into the sky as shadow after shadow appeared behind him. The Scorpion Tiger Doluor, Zhong Peng, was among them, along with about a dozen other shadows. The Sun Moon Empire's mysterious imperial tutor stuck close to Long Xiaoyao. There was an unspoken rule in the world of soul masters, title Doluor, who interfered, or participated in worldly affairs, or conflicts, had to fight it out in the sky to avoid annihilation, destruction, and the loss of life. Only the victorious party was worthy of making a move against others who weren't titled Doluor. As long as there was one titled Doluor who hadn't been defeated, the other side's titled Doluor couldn't participate in combat against others. This rule was a commandment left behind 10,000 years ago by the Tang sect's founding father after he entered the divine realm. Not a single empire had passed this as a law, but all the titled Doluor in the world followed this commandment religiously. War was most harmful towards normal citizens, while it wasn't difficult for individuals like titled Doluor to massacre an entire city if they unleashed their full strength. This commandment greatly reduced the bloodshed and lives lost in the wars that had unfurled in the 10,000 years since. This was reason why Long Xiaoyao brought it up. He was an ultimate Doluor, and the body sect leader, Dubuzi, wouldn't break that rule. Nobody knew exactly how effective Tang San's commandment had been 10,000 years down the road, but everyone was clear that one of them breaking the commandment meant the other party would do so as well. If that happened, the entire continent would swiftly become devoid of life. This was the reason why the titled Doluor fought in the sky no matter their goal, and those who didn't have 9 soul rings were responsible for assaulting the royal palace. A golden beam of light lit up half the night sky as the Daotai Doluor, Elder Xian, appeared in the sky. He seemed to chime in from the other end as they sandwiched Long Xiaoyao between them, and the three of them soared into the sky at the same time. There were more than 20 individuals who rose together with Elder Xian and Dubuzi into the sky. Long Xiaoyao was a powerful being, but his expression changed. His side had only half the number of titled Doluor compared to the other side. Furthermore, Long Xiaoyao was very clear that with the body sect and the Shrek Academy's depth and background, more than half of these titled Doluor were transcendent Doluor. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to trespass into Radiant City's royal palace. Xianzi, we don't have to be polite with the old darkness dragon anymore. He's our senior, let's team up against him. Dubuzi laughed heartily, and he bolted outright when he rose into the sky as he went straight for Long Xiaoyao. Elder Xian frowned, but he hesitated for only a moment before he flew towards Long Xiaoyao along with Dubuzi. The two of them were some of the strongest individuals in the world. They were both rank 98 Transcendent Doluor. However, it might seem like they were only one rank away from a rank 99 Ultimate Doluor, but they were very clear what this gap meant. This was the reason why Dubuzi hadn't dared to attack Mu Yen when he faced him those years ago, even though he knew that Elder Mu was still recovering from his old injuries. If they matched up 1 versus 1 against the Dragon Emperor Doluor, Long Xiaoyao, they had no chance at all. But 2 against 1 was different. They were at the pinnacle of the world, and Long Xiaoyao might not be able to defeat them 1 against 2 even with his strength. This wasn't as simple as 1 plus 2, their cultivation and experience over 100 years would allow them to complement each other and raise their overall strength exponentially. The other titled Doluor didn't make a move. Instead, they retreated far away and watched this epic showdown. This was a great opportunity for them to watch a battle at this level, and it would be very beneficial for people at their level. If they could understand something, or have some kind of revelation from this fight, that would be very catalyzing and inspirational for their cultivation in the future. Ranking up after becoming a titled Doluor was extremely challenging, and this was especially so for those titled Doluor who were stuck at the bottleneck that would make them into a transcendent Doluor. Long Xiaoyao wasn't fearful at all as the 2 powerful individuals lunged towards him. He raised both hands in the air and pushed one out against Dubuzi and the other at Elder Xian. Deep dragon roars echoed through the night sky like rolling thunder. In Elder Xian and Dubuzi's eyes, Long Xiaoyao was like an ancient dragon, arching its back and flashing its sharp claws at them. 2 black palm shadows swelled in the wind, quickly reaching a height of 100 meters. They were so tall and majestic that they resembled small mountains. Heh! Dubuzi growled as green light surged around his body. A dark green light stretched out behind his back, and his arms grew exponentially as he pushed forward with his 2 giant spirit's palms and collided with one of the black palm shadows in the sky. Boom! A deep boom resonated across the air, and even Radiant City's royal palace trembled beneath it. Dubuzi quivered, but his enormous dark green hands plunged into the large black palm shadow, and he forcefully tore it apart right in front of him. On the other side, Elder Xian's response was a lot less ferocious. He took a step forward through the air, and the godly Daotai bull's projection flickered behind him as 2 long horns protruded from the top of his head. 2 yellow, 2 purple, 4 black, and 1 red soul ring shimmered into view as he punched out with his right hand. Boom! The black palm shadow dissipated, while Elder Xian was sent hurtling backwards more than 10 meters. Long Xiaoyao's shoulders trembled in the distance. The Dragon Emperor Doluor was fighting against 2, and he still had the upper hand. This was true strength. Boom, boom, boom. Deep thunderous booms resonated in the sky, and shadows flickered incessantly. It's begun. We should make a move. A bright voice rang out in a dark alley beside the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. A strange sight occurred. There was a small being hovering in front of Wang Donga, Wang Chioa, Ji Juechen, Jing Ziyan, and Xiao Xiao. This being was about 1 foot tall, but it felt like a real person. Judging by its appearance, wasn't that Hu Yuhao? The light coming from his body wasn't glaring, and his projection almost felt material. However, he was no longer crippled and immobile, and he was just drifting in front of everyone. He looked a lot like his spirit, the little snow lady. Everyone was overcome with shock when Hu Yuhao appeared in front of them like that a couple of minutes ago. Yes, this was Hu Yuhao's spiritual avatar that he had separated from his main body. He was gradually able to control it as he flew along, and even though he was still a little disoriented and unfamiliar, because he had to split his consciousness in 2, the fact that he could fly his spiritual avatar to his companions proved that he had been successful. Hu Yuhao wasn't hasty to lead his companions into the operation when he arrived. Instead, he was waiting quietly until now. He flew over to Wang Donga and sat down on her shoulder when they heard the deep and deafening booms in the sky, and he urged them to begin. Wang Donga glanced at him, and she couldn't help but laugh. "You're quite cute in this form." Hu Yuhao rolled his eyes and said, "Let's go, we should hurry. Almost all the powerful individuals are concentrated over there, and it seems like the Sun Moon Empire is prepared for this ambush on the royal palace. If I'm not wrong, the Class 9 Soul Engineers who are normally stationed here have been drawn over there. We have about an hour to figure out how much of an advantage we can take from this opportunity." "All right." Wang Donga acknowledged, and she walked at the forefront with Hu Yuhao's spiritual power guiding her. The other four followed closely behind. Wang Chua was walking right behind Wang Donga, and she stared at Hu Yuhao on Wang Donga's shoulder. Strange lights flickered time and time again in her eyes. This fellow is getting more and more powerful, indeed. The place they were at was the same one that Chen An had met somebody in secret that day, and the same place that Hu Yuhao had discreetly discovered. Hu Yuhao had used spiritual separation that time, as well. But his main body wasn't doing anything when he had used it back then, while his spiritual avatar didn't have to use any abilities at all. This meant the previous instance was a lot easier to control and operate, but now he had to concentrate all his energy on this endeavor. Hu Yuhao activated his imitation, and he integrated himself and his 5 companions into their surroundings. Nobody could discover them even if someone came close to check. They followed along the small path beside the Sun Moon Academy, and they relied on imitation to circle around the soldiers, who were standing guard outside. They quickly arrived outside the same courtyard, where Chen An had discreetly met up with somebody back then. "It's here." Hu Yuhao reached into his companions' consciousnesses and informed them. He increased his spiritual detection's area of effect at the same time, and encompassed the entire courtyard. The situation was exactly as he had predicted. The only person who remained was the middle-aged man who met Chen An that day, and his surname was Li. At this moment, he was just standing inside the courtyard, a calm expression on his face. However, anxiety flashed across his eyes from time to time, as if he was waiting for something. The middle-aged man wasn't waiting for money, as Chen An had given him the rest of the payment once the goods had been delivered. He was waiting for news that the deal had been successful. He was selling rare metals in private without his superior's knowledge, and he knew that his life would be over if he was discovered. He had to be as cautious and careful as possible. There was a black metal box in his hands, and he glanced again and again at the crystal screen on the metal box's surface. "Let me go," Wang Chua whispered. Hu Yuhao hurriedly waved her away and said, "We're not in a hurry. Let's wait for a little while more. This place seems lax on the outside, but it's very strict and secure on the inside, and there are many traps all around. We cannot act rashly and alert the enemy he's waiting for news, and we'll make our move when he gets it. This way, the person he's meeting up with won't suspect that something isn't right, and we can avoid any unnecessary accidents." Hu Yuhao's calm and composure influenced everybody around him, and Wang Chua said nothing more. The deep booms that were coming from the distant sky that resembled rolling thunder became louder and louder. Dark green, black, and yellow colors alternately lit up the sky. They were battling high up in the sky, but everyone could still feel how epic and magnificent that battle was even though they were so far away. A look of pity and regret flashed across Hu Yuhao's eyes. He would really have loved to watch this clash between this generation's most powerful individuals if he hadn't had more important things to do. The middle-aged man could naturally also hear the deep booms in the distance, and he glanced up at the sky from time to time as faint fear flowed from his eyes. He was a soul engineer, and that meant he was fundamentally a soul master as well, but this was the first time that he had ever heard something as frightening as that. Furthermore, he had no idea what was going on, and it was happening while there was something else on his mind. He glanced at his screen a lot more than before. Right at that moment, shadows rose into the sky from another courtyard behind this one. An old and hardy voice said, "Li Chong, guard the courtyard. We'll head to the royal palace to see what's going on." 8 shadows surged into the air, and transformed into flowing light, as they bolted toward the deep booms echoing across the horizon, and the royal palace beneath them. Everyone looked on as those shadows disappeared beyond the horizon. Wang Donga, Wang Chua, Ji Juchen, Jing Ziyan, and Xiao Xiao all glanced at Hu Yuhao with a little more admiration in their eyes. They had waited for only a short while longer, but this had greatly reduced the dangers that they originally could have faced. Hu Yuhao smiled, though he didn't admit that his prediction had been correct. "We're lucky. You can go, Chua. The key is tied to Li Chong's waist. Try to be as silent and discreet as possible. The room behind him and to his left is empty, take him in there." "Okay." Wang Chua acknowledged, and Hu Yuhao expanded his imitation's area of effect, as she leapt gently into the courtyard. Li Chong felt his heart skip a beat when he heard that old and hardy voice. He had a guilty conscience, and there was something else on his mind, so he was especially sensitive to external stimulus and what was happening in the outside world. The voice eventually said that they were heading to the royal palace to take a look, not that they had discovered something, and only then did Li Chong, who was also the manager, immediately relax. He even felt as if his entire body were going soft and weak. The soul communicator's screen finally lit up in his hands at this moment. A sign to represent that the deal had been successfully closed appeared, and Li Chong's heart finally relaxed completely, while his eyes appeared immensely relieved. Unfortunately, he didn't know that Hui Yuhao's spiritual detection was monitoring everything that he was feeling and doing. Wang Qiu'er took this opportunity to strike through the guidance provided by Hui Yuhao's spiritual detection. Wang Qiu'er darted forward like a lightning bolt as her figure flickered through the air. She was moving too quickly, and she even emerged from Hui Yuhao's imitation because of her incredible speed. However, she was simply too fast. It was too late for Li Chong to react when alarm rose in his heart. He was still a soul engineer, however, and a Class 5 automatic protective soul barrier emerged from his body in an attempt to block Wang Qiu'er's attack. Unfortunately for him, he was facing a person that was touted as the strongest dragon-type soul master in the entire Continental Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament, the Golden Dragon Girl. Breaking through fortresses and defenses was Wang Qiu'er's forte. Wang Qiu'er's golden dragon spear pierced through the soul barrier, as if it were punching through a piece of paper. Wang Qiu'er had charged up for this attack, and it included her frightening strength and soul power, along with her spiritual power. The dash of golden light that erupted caused Ji Jueqin's expression to change, even though he was already a soul sage. The sharp tip accurately impaled Li Chong's throat, and the soft sound of cracking bones rang out once before everything went silent. Li Chong's eyes were as wide as they could be. He had relaxed completely before this, and his mind had been filled with the luxurious and fortunate life that he would have in the future. However, his life turned upside down in that moment. He was motionless and lackadaisical, and he stared in disbelief as imitation closed over him. He was not resigned to his fate, as he watched the twisting and contorting figure in front of him. Li Chong's life energy flooded through the golden dragon spear, and not a single drop of blood was shed. Wang Qiu'er kept his corpse impaled on her spear, as she dashed into the room that Hui Yuhao had pointed out to her in a flash. It only took a few seconds to complete this ambush. When Wang Qiu'er came back out from that room and gently shut its doors, Wang Dong'er, Ji Jueqin, and the others had already arrived inside the courtyard. Hui Yuhao gave Wang Qiu'er a thumbs up and said, "Brother Ji, you'll stay here with Sister Ziyan to keep a lookout for us. If powerful enemies come, release the signal, break through the onslaught by yourselves, and return to the hotel right afterwards. You don't have to wait for us. Third senior brother and fourth senior sister will be waiting for you on the other side of the alleyway. Xiao Xiao, Dong'er, Qiu'er, let's go." There could only be one voice in the team at a time like this, and Jing Ziyan and Ji Jueqin nodded softly. Hui Yuhao brought everyone into a room in the center according to what he remembered from his reconnaissance efforts the last time, finding this room also empty. Ji Jueqin and Jing Ziyan found a window each, and hid beside them as they watched everything that was happening outside. Hui Yuhao brought the other three girls to a large wardrobe inside the room. "Open it," Hui Yuhao said. Wang Dong'er and Wang Qiu'er took a step forward at almost the same time. They exchanged a look, and Wang Qiu'er stepped back and let Wang Dong'er open it. Hui Yuhao facepalmed. "It seems like I have to make things a little more specific next time. Qiu'er, insert the purple key into the keyhole on the hinge at the left side of the wardrobe." Hui Yuhao's instructions were now a lot clearer. Wang Qiu'er retrieved a purple key from the set of keys that she had stolen, found a discreet keyhole at the hinges, and inserted the key. A series of faint cracking sounds could be heard, and the board behind the wardrobe began to open slowly to one side. An entrance was revealed, faint light flickering inside. Wang Qiu'er was about to enter, but Hui Yuhao stopped her. Hui Yuhao lowered her voice and said, "We will have to face all kinds of booby traps after we go inside. This place is exceptionally important for the Sun-Moon Empire, and there will be many soul tool traps and whatnot. Dorma will take point, Xiao Xiao will be in the center, and Chioa will be at the back. Everyone has to follow my instructions, and please don't make any mistakes. Otherwise, we will all be doomed. I don't care what other thoughts and opinions you guys have right now, stow them. I'm okay with that, Wang Dorma answered forthrightly. Xiao Xiao stared at the two other girls amusingly before she nodded. Fortunately, only Hu Yuhao's spiritual avatar was here, so he wouldn't blush even when Xiao Xiao was staring at him with a strange look. Wang Chioa took a deep breath and said, "Okay, we'll listen to you. Let's go." Dorma goes first. Hu Yuhao didn't waste any more time, and immediately gave his orders. Wang Dorma leapt softly and nimbly entered the entryway within the wardrobe. She didn't make a single sound, and Xiao Xiao and Wang Chioa followed closely behind. The insides of this tunnel gave everyone a very spacious feeling. This tunnel didn't go directly down, but pointed forward instead. There were stone walls on both sides, at least a meter thick. It was difficult for Hu Yuhao to pierce through such thickness, even though he possessed formidable spiritual power. They pushed forward for about 10 meters before they came across 3 doors. Every door had a keypad with numbers from 0 to 9, and a keyhole as well. If Hu Yuhao hadn't used his spiritual power to follow Li Chong into this place, there would be nothing he could do against a mechanism like this, no matter how smart he was. These doors were this place's second firewall. Right when they arrived in front of these doors, waves of crackling sounds suddenly rang out, and small holes appeared in the walls around them. Barrel after barrel of metal soul ray cannons protruded from the holes, locking down every possible angle that the few of them could dodge to. Wang Chioa was about to react instinctively, but Hu Yuhao growled at her to stop. "Don't move." Perhaps due to the deep-seated trust that she had in him, her tensed body immediately stopped moving. Hu Yuhao lowered his voice and said, "If we find the right door, and if the passcode is right, these things won't attack us. Chioa, go to the door on the left. The code is 37645169. Hu Yuhao went on to quote a 16-digit passcode. Wang Chioa entered the passcode on the leftmost door. Insert the yellow key and turn it clockwise, 2.5 rounds. Wang Dorma followed his instructions. The door bounced 3 inches out after 3 clangs, and the soul ray barrels that poked out swiftly disappeared. The door bounced open, as if it were releasing some pressure. "What a skillful and delicate soul tool setup," Xiao Xiao muttered admiringly. "This barrier would have been very difficult to pass if we hadn't known about it beforehand." Hu Yuhao smiled and said, "This is not a big deal. The things that are waiting for us afterwards are even more frightening. In the end, a barrier like this can only be used against soul masters who aren't soul emperors, and actual powerful individuals could break in with brute force. You guys have seen how these booby traps are, so we have to be a lot more careful when we're inside. Let's go." Wang Dorma nodded, and was still in front as she entered the door. The 3 girls were surprised to find that after walking in they were inside a hermetic space about 20 square meters in surface area. There were no paths leading anywhere but back where they came from. Hu Yuhao said to Wang Chioa, "Chioa, there are 3 rectangular yellow bricks on the wall to your left. You have to knock on them, knock 3 times on the first one, 5 times on the second one, and once on the third one." Wang Chioa was incredibly fast, and finished the job in the blink of an eye. The sealed room suddenly trembled, and the door that they had just entered from gradually closed up. A dim yellow circle lit up on the ceiling. The entire sealed room began to shake and tremble subtly, and everyone suddenly felt their stomachs drop. "We're going down." Wang Dorma turned to Hu Yuhao. Hu Yuhao nodded and said, "This place's defenses and firewalls are a lot more powerful than those inside Illustrious Virtue Hall. We are going several hundred meters beneath the ground, and all kinds of automatic soul tools are set up several thousand square meters around us. If we don't use this enormous elevator, not even Class 9 stationary soul cannon shells can break through the defenses on top." This video will end here.